back to CC Rock. I'm just laborious once again. CC Rock out there on Labor Day weekend, working for you to bring you all the best metal and hard rock in the Bay Area. We now have Joe Elliott from Def Leppard. How you doing, Joe?
Very well, very well.
Well, you're on this big tour. I know it's been going on for a while now, the Euphoria tour. You put the album out a little while back, a year and a half ago, and it's going well and strong. Tell me about this album. I mean, I've heard a lot of good things about it. I've listened to it myself. It's got a mix of ballads and rockin'. I mean, you tell me what you think about it.
It's just what I would have to say is a typical Def Leppard record, which is very varied. You know, we've never been a band that's just done 10 songs that are all the same. The common theme with any Def Leppard record is the variety on it. So that's why, you know, there's anything from full-on rock to ballads to an instrumental. But it's just got the trademark harmonies, the big guitars, you know, and the big hooks, which is something that we've always wanted to do. You know, we grew up in Britain in a very pop environment, and we dress up a lot of pop songs as rock. You know, a lot of our early influences weren't just like Zeppelin and Deep Purple, which were part of it, but it was also bands like Sweet and Slade and Bowie and T-Rex, Mott the Hoople and stuff like that, Queen. And we've always wanted to be a band that did big harmonies, and because we can all sing, and it's stupid not to use that if you have that ingredient in your band. You should use it to the best of your ability, which is something that we've always tried to do.
Well, ever since I saw you guys are definitely using your best abilities all the way back to Blackfoot, back on the High and Dry tour. Of course, you had Pete Willis in the band at the time then. He's no longer with the band, a long way back. I mean, when I was a teenager, that was my second concert. And I look back at that, and I always heard it was a problem with maybe drugs and alcohol. Is that?
It's drink, really. Pete had a problem with drink, and I just think he really wasn't tuned in the same way the rest of the band were. You know, we had to drag him into every situation. He didn't willingly go there, and he just got very tiresome after a while, and with the drinking, it just took it over the edge. It's like, Pete, you know, this is just not working out anymore. He was as relieved as us, really.
Well, you talk about, you know, you had a lot of influences, Sweet being one of them, and one of the songs you played tonight is On With The Action, I believe.
We do, actually, we're not doing it tonight.
You're not playing Action. I'm rocking the wrong set list.
Action is a song that we do some nights, and other nights we do Stage Fright, other nights we do Demolition Man. We change it round. Tonight we went with Stage Fright, so Action's on the back burner this evening, but we may bring it back the next show, who knows.
Well, you talk about, you know, changing it up. I mean, a lot of bands, they have the set list. It goes out, it's in concrete and stone, that's it. It's the same set list every night. Why the change up? I mean, I like the change up.
Yeah, we used to do that because we were tied down to computerized lighting rigs and this, that and the other. On this tour, we said we wanted it a little bit more hands-on and a little bit more flexible, so we could keep it fresh for us, keep it fresh for the crew, and in fairness, keep it fresh for the repeat crowd, because we do have a lot of people that actually follow us around. It's not quite Fish or the Grateful Dead, but it also, you know, just with the, you know, being aware of the internet nowadays, people put your set list on after the first gig, so people know what you're going to play. So we like to mess with them and say, all right, that's what you think we're going to do. We're going to play something different.
About the internet, I know you have this new guru who you hired on to do your website. He kind of looks like Rick Allen. I saw this picture. I'm like, that's not Rick.
Yeah, no, he's certainly not Rick. He's Dutch. A guy called Mark Senf. And our website, which is www.defleppard.com, thank you. This guy was running an unofficial site, and we used to log on and see what everybody was doing. This guy's site was literally better than our official website, so it's like, well, this is wrong, you know? It's like a bootleg t-shirt being better than an official one. You might as well get the bootleggers in to do your official one, and that's exactly what we did. Mark has always been a big fan, and we said, do you want to do it? And he jumped at the chance, and now I think that we've got one of the best sites out there.
Well, you've had a lot of influences in your life, I know, as far as musically, one being David Bowie. You have a new project I hear you're working on called Cybernauts. Yeah. Tell me a little about this. I know it's like some covers.
Yeah, what it is, it's all covers. 1997 was the second Mick Ronson Memorial concert. We did one in 94, and the proceeds of that, when they were eventually gathered together and counted up, went towards building a memorial stage in a park in Hull, in England, which is Mick's hometown. And to launch the stage, we decided to do a second show. Well, we ended up doing 5 concerts instead of the one, and the show in Dublin, in Ireland, which we played, I pulled literally all the studio equipment out of my studio and took it down to the venue, recorded it live, we sat on the tapes for nearly 2 years. I mixed them this summer, and we're going to release it on the web next year.
On the web itself?
It's actually going to get an official release in Japan, but we're going to put it out on the web, you can buy it over the web basically. There'll be a Cybernauts website which you can get to via the Def Leppard website, which will have all the information in a couple of months' time. But it's basically what it is. It's a live album plus a bonus CD of 4 studio tracks. Just celebrating the music of David Bowie as played when Ronson was around. So it's all stuff from Man Who Sold the World, Hunky Dory, Ziggy Stardust and Aladdin Sane.
Way back there.
Yeah. Well, and it's myself and Phil. And
Colin.
Yeah. And Woody Woodmansey and Trevor Boulder, who were the original Spiders from Mars bass player and drummer.
Wow. It's pretty amazing. Now, you're back to Euphoria. We have a video, Promises. Tell me what's the concept of the song, concept of the video. How'd you come up with it?
The Wayne Isham, who directed our In the Round in Your Face video, and he did Love Bites, and he did, I think he did the Hysteria video as well. We've known Wayne for a long time. He got the script, he screwed it up, threw it over his shoulder and said, trust me, and that's the concept.
Obviously, Hysteria, Pyromania, Euphoria, you've got this Ia going on here. Is that just chance it happens this way? Or?
Believe it or not, and I swear on the Bible, every single one of them's been a coincidence. In fact, when we came up with Euphoria, I remember looking at Phil and saying, you know what everybody's going to say, don't you? And I was a little annoyed with the record company when they advertised it, following Pyromania and Hysteria, we bring you Euphoria, as though there was a tie-in. There was a tie-in in other people's eyes, not in ours. It was just a word that summed up the way we felt when we first listened back to back to all the songs. We were like, wow, this is great. We really believed in what we'd done. It was a very euphoric feeling when the 5 of us were in the room, just us and Pete, the producer, and it's like, Euphoria was it was the buzzword right there and then, and we thought, this is great. It's simple, it's to the point, and that's the way we always like to keep things.
As long as you don't have an album called Gonorrhea.
No, a Diphtheria. They're all potentials, but I think
Ias out there you don't want to get.
We'll keep them on the back burner, I'm afraid.
Talking about these subjects, the women. I mean, you guys, like I said, we've covered some shows this summer with Poison and Motley Crue. You guys, I think, are just one little notch above all of that as far as having these females just flock all over to your shows. Not maybe they're girls back in the old days. They're, of course, women mostly now, but you still have some young followers I'm showing there.
They bring their daughters along, and their younger sisters. We have, we're very grateful and flattered at the fact that we still, every time we put an album out, seem to manage to pull in a new audience. So it's a mixture of people that have been with us since High and Dry or even on through the night, right through to people that hear Euphoria and think it's our first album, the way that I'm sure a lot of people heard Dude Looks Like a Lady when Aerosmith came back in '87 and thought it was their first record, But we do seem to be the Tom Jones of rock. We get bras and pants and women themselves getting thrown up on stage. It's kind of cool.
Oh, I heard a story about a similar stage just like this back in the old days where a lot of girls crawled into the stage with you guys, and all kinds of stories came out of this.
Actually, the truth is that we were playing in the round, and there was no backstage. It was the underworld, and we had a few guys on the crew that used to, invite girls onto the stage for a halftime break.
Hard not to.
Me and Rick.
You're innocent.
Me and Rick were on stage doing the audience thing. It was everybody else that was underneath there having a good time. I only got to see the Polaroids, which have all been burned.
Oh yeah, sure. They were all gone on the internet, right? Okay, the small last question here is the fact of Slang. A very different album by Def Leppard. There's a lot of bands out there doing it. I mean, obviously the Scorpions came out with their album a little while ago. Can't remember the name of it, it's Labor Day weekend. But anyhow, there's a lot of bands coming up with different albums, different sounds. Why was Slang, was it just your choice of just trying to do something different? Is that what it was? Or
yeah, well, what had happened was, by the time we'd finished touring the Euphoria, the Adrenalize album, you'd have to be brain dead to not realize that there was a whole new movement coming out of Seattle. And we realized that, we had to either change with the times or die, like many other bands did. That just end up coming back on these 4-band kind of 80s revival tours, which we weren't really interested in doing. So we'd made 3 albums that were of a type, and decided it was time to move on. We wanted to do something a little bit more contemporary that didn't tie us down to like, oh, I can imagine what the next record's going to sound like. So we just wanted to shock people, experiment, and going down avenues that we'd maybe closed off ourselves in the past. So we can't do something like that. It's like, well, why can't we? So we decided, there was Indian influences, there was Gaelic influences, there was basic rock and roll, there was, Rick playing an acoustic kit for the first time since he lost his arm. A lot of live recordings in the studio. We just wanted to try something a little different, we even jokingly said, let's call the album Commercial Suicide, because we knew exactly what we were doing, but it was something we had to get out of our system. Like I said, the whole marketplace had been flooded with commercial pop rock, and we got, I think, unfairly lumped in with a lot of these other bands. We'd only done the 3 albums in 9 years, so we could hardly be blamed for flooding the market. It was all the Def Leppard copyists that flooded the market, and we had to distance ourselves from them, so we decided to just reinvent the whole sound. 7 years after the fact, we felt comfortable making another classic Def Leppard record, which is what we wanted to do.
That's what actually Euphoria is.
Euphoria is, but the Slang album was, I wouldn't like to say an experiment, but it was just a direction that we wanted to go in, and we've never let anybody dictate to us, like A&R people or whatever, how we should sound. It's like, this is it, you don't like it, hey, we'll give it to somebody else.
Last question is, obviously the Bay Area has been dying for you guys to come around for the last couple of years. The last summer you guys couldn't make it by. This summer it doesn't look like it's going to happen really either. This is the closest we're getting in California. When are you coming back to the Bay Area?
Well, we go wherever the demand is, and unfortunately there's certain places on the in the States, and it happens to be a lot on the West Coast where there is no demand.
Really? I mean, in LA.
LA, the same thing. There's no gig in LA.
Half your guys live in LA.
I know. San Francisco, same kind of thing. There's a lot of these areas where, the advice was, it's not worth going. You want to play into a half-empty house, go ahead. And we're like, no, we really don't,
Very interesting, because I've always thought you guys have been strong ever since the beginning, and now here you are in Euphoria, in a sense returning back to a lot of your old roots, but a great band.
Yeah, it's one of those things that hopefully can turn around. I mean, what's not hip this year can be very hip next year, so you never know. With the next record, of course we'd love to be able to come back and play a lot of the places that we've not done for a while, but at least on this tour we've got to play some places that we maybe haven't played since '83 or '87. So they got pimped on the last tour. Last time we played San Francisco, maybe we didn't do Battle Creek, Michigan. This time we did, and there's so many places you can't literally get everywhere in. So it was a case of there's a certain time constraint as well, and we had to do what we could, and this was
only 5 guys in Def Leppard, right?
Until they can clone us, this is it. You
got some pigs out there like that, but you guys ain't pigs.
Well, maybe under the stage now and again, but not anymore.
Well, thank you very much. Great interview. Have a great show.
Thank you. Cheers.